Modern horror has produced plenty of noteworthy villains, but these terrifying movie monsters are the scariest in recent memory. Though it could be argued that the era of the iconic horror villain is over, filmmakers are still dreaming up plenty of frightening antagonists to give viewers nightmares. The next best thing is always just around the corner. It's difficult to define what makes a perfect horror villain, and scares are ultimately subjective. However, iconic horror villains typically have a memorable signature look, and something specific that makes them uniquely scary. Slasher villains might have a noteworthy mask, or a supernatural monster could have a one-of-a-kind power that makes them extra deadly. Regardless, originality is key in horror. Bloodthirsty moviegoers are always on the hunt for the latest and greatest, so filmmakers are forced to come up with ideas that push the genre to sickening heights. Sometimes these monsters and villains come back for sequels, but standalone scares don't preclude a character from being iconic. All that really matters is that they scare the wits out of audiences. For the purposes of this list, the word modern is used to describe the last 20 years. All the horror movie villains contained within are from the relatively recent past, though some have connections to earlier eras. Many are already established as all-time icons, while others are waiting to be recognized. Either way, these characters are still haunting plenty of nightmares. 10. The It Follows entity, It Follows, 2014. Helping to kick off the modern era of thoughtful horror flicks, It Follows is a horror film with brains. The entity at the heart of the story has no defined shape, and is actually more of a symbol for the past that never really goes away. The film subtly hints at what happens when the entity claims its victims, and it's pretty gruesome. The It Follows entity is at the bottom of the list because it's a villain that's scary in theory and not necessarily in practice. It's unrelenting and unstoppable, but it isn't really a threat to anyone who isn't in its path. It forces the victim to pass it along to someone else, thus making them monsters themselves. 9. The Lipstick Face Demon, Insidious, 2010. The Lipstick Face Demon is the central antagonist of the Insidious franchise, and he's quite spooky just to look at him. He resides in the series' supernatural realm, but is kept mysterious enough to have a bit of mystique throughout the sequels. His first appearance in the original film is a modern jump scare that still leaves audiences floored. His unusual appearance is key to his scariness, and he looks just human enough to have a creepy, uncanny quality. He isn't higher on the list because he is a bit overexposed. The more a monster like the Lipstick Face Demon appears on the screen, the less effective his startling appearance becomes. 8. Aunt Gladys, Weapons, 2025. It remains to be seen if the latest iconic horror villain will remain as scary after she appears in her forthcoming prequel film. However, Aunt Gladys from Weapons is certainly one nightmarish movie foe. She's revealed to be the puppet master behind everything, and her witchy methods are as surreal as they are frightening. Because she takes the form of a helpless old lady, Gladys is able to insert herself into the lives of her victims. What she does to them is absolutely vile, and is arguably the scariest use of witchcraft in movie history. Her cruelty makes her one mean antagonist, and there is almost no humanity left in her. She loses a few scary points though, because she is ultimately defeated in the finale. 7. Art the Clown, Terrifier, 2016. Though the era of the slasher icon is in the past, Terrifier's Art the Clown still carries the banner for the legendary slashers of the golden era. The supernatural killer is a mix of common fears, and his movies allow him to do pretty much anything he wants. Terrifier and its sequels are merely platforms for one stomach-churning kill after another. Art's character design is pretty strong, taking the usual clown makeup styles and morphing them to be creepy. His huge toothy grin is an intentional inversion of what clowns are supposed to be. Because he's so ruthless and unpredictable, Art is even harder to read than his slasher predecessors. However, he takes center stage a bit too much, which makes him a lot less scary over time. 6. The Smile Monster, Smile, 2022. Like the entity in It Follows, the monster in Smile is essentially formless throughout the movie. However, it does take form periodically, and it is terrifying in its simplicity. Usually, the monster inhabits someone near the victim, and appears with a massive and unearthly smile on its face. Naturally, the Smile Monster is meant to be a metaphor for grief and depression. However, the movie allows the creature to be more than a symbol too. The climax of the first film shows the creature take an almost eldritch form as it stalks Rose. It's an image that's so surprising and weird that it pays off the film's otherwise slow-burn approach. What's most scary about the creature is its potential. 5. Valak, The Conjuring 2, 2016. Of all the monsters spawned from the Conjuring universe, Valak is the most iconic of them all. It's a demon straight from the bowels of hell that takes the form of a nun in order to mock the Christian faith, but its backstory also intrinsically links it to the Catholic Church. With the nun, the sinister look is key to the scares. Valak's first scare is a brilliant piece of modern horror, and proves that a franchise known for its bombastic thrills can be subtle too. Bonnie Aarons is the real reason the character works so well, and her unique appearance can't be replicated by any other actor. Besides its creepy visage, the overwhelming power of Valak makes it an iconic horror villain. For Longlegs, 2024. Some great horror villains have style, or memorable moments, or reflect real-life fears. The titular villain in Longlegs is a rare monster that has all three. Nicolas Cage's career-defining turn as Longlegs is one of the most bombastic and harrowing performances in horror history, and it will live on long after the movie itself fades away. His unusual face and mannerisms are close enough to reality to be recognizable, but just off enough to trigger a subtle reaction in the brain. His crimes, though ultimately supernatural, reflect characteristics of real-life headlines. He's so scary because of what makes him realistic, not what makes him an over-the-top